What? Welcome to Transcending Ascension Live. Today we bring you, of course, the Gospel of Thomas, because that's what we're doing, and we'll be doing it probably for a week more at least. It depends how many days I get to pull on an episode. I see at least double the amount we've already done because we're going through it fairly slowly, because I get off on many tangents that there is to tell you about metaphysics, because it's vast and literally endless, because the universe is endless, it's infinite. So this information is infinite. The amount that you can unpack and learn here, it's universal, and you can apply it to everything. So starting off here in the Gospel of Thomas, let's get going. Our first one, where we left off yesterday, is very funny. I've already read it. Hilarious. Jesus said there was a rich person who had a great deal of money. He said, "I shall invest my money so that I may sow, reap, plant, and fill my storehouses with produce, that I may lack nothing." These were the things he was thinking in his heart, but that very night he died. Someone here with 2 ears had better listen. And we've previously mentioned, in case you haven't heard, when you hear, for those with 2 ears, let them hear, it is not good. That you ever avoid that information, that you ever don't sink deeply into that information. He's giving you a profound hint here that it is very, very deep. So you want to heed him when he says, you have 2 ears. You want to listen. You absolutely want to.
In the brain, in the cranium, there is the cerebrum. And in the cerebrum, and in particular, the claustrum. The claustrum is sitting right there in the middle of the head, virtually. From the claustrum, there is a secretion, brain fluid. And this fluid is an oil. And in ancient times, this fluid, in Greek, it's called Christos. It's called the Christ. It's this beautiful fluid which comes from the cerebrum and pours down the spinal cord. It goes down the spinal cord and it reaches the sacral plexus.
That's my version of a commercial. I'm going to keep throwing it on whenever I need to. It's a very important lesson to learn about the entire science of Christ consciousness. My Wi-Fi is not very reliable today, so I shut off the Wi-Fi on my phone because it's very strong, but we'll see how we do. It said it was weak yesterday, but I had no glitches, so hopefully we're good today. But today is very weird. Today is very, if you're watching this in the future, it's April 12th. It's a Friday. It's 9:48 New York time. And it's a weird, weird day, like an energy, something huge is happening. I usually don't do energy predictions, but I'm getting very accurate, and I'm like, I should, because afterwards I'm like, I was right. Everything I'm always thinking is right. But I don't have the confidence yet to be one of those woo-woo energy readers, because people feel like they get on their high horse and go, I know everything. What I do know is it's serious. And if you're not good today, look out. Be on your best behavior today. And that means, like, in heart alignment, actually be with your Christ consciousness today. And if this continues, there's that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction coming up. That's revolutions have happened because of it in the past. It's serious. Like, you don't want to be on the wrong side, because it's all about awakening. Uranus is a very powerful force for us to be used to enlighten. And then Jupiter is pure power. And then Jupiter's the dominant force. So it's going to be trouble. Okay. But we just read here in our gospel about money, and we've heard this one before. So Jesus is telling us, don't save your money, you could die. They say that in many different ways, and money is not real, blah, 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 Buddhism, don't love your money. That's obvious, and they're constantly saying it because it's obvious, but it's not obvious. People are never sticking to these lessons. People are never... It's impossible, and we live in the devil's world. We live in Satan's world, where everything costs money. So I could dive deeper and be all, oh, the humbleness of no money. And yeah, we've heard it, Jesus. You've told us before. The entire world would need to be restructured. The entire world would need to be restructured. Now, I don't believe God came down here and wanting to live in poverty. God came down here wanting to live physically, and we made money to make that physicalness work. All the physical things we make cost money to buy. All of everything physical is has money behind it. Now, if we want to live in a different world, we need to literally put ourselves in a different world. And this is where like they went and created communes. Literally, this is one of those things like politics we need to take up on the table. And when we have our council, we need a council run by 12 figures of the astrology in every single state and province, and then in every single country. And I would say possibly one for the whole world. But that's where you get, I'm taking over the world. Well, you keep it a council of 12. You keep it a council organized within the astrology, and you are covering a good chunk of your basis. And if you really wanted to do it properly, you would do a full astrological star chart on them, a full human design star chart on them, and actually find not somebody that says they're going to do the best. You find someone you know you could do the best. Look at Trump's star chart. Guarantee you it would predict what he's doing. When people are that awesome, and when you're using the word awesome correctly, even I think amazing is the same, like it just means huge. I guarantee like Hitler as well was predicted to be a huge figure. So if we were to do star charts on people, if we were to do human design charts on people, we would be able to predict like, oh, are you going to be a maniacal leader? And usually it won't say you're going to be evil, but it will say you're going to be great. And it'll say things like I don't have any of that at all. But I know there is people like my own son's a double Leo. So he's a ascending Leo, his sun sign's a Leo, and then his moon is a Capricorn. That right there, without even going into the full chart, shows that he's going to be some kind of serious leader, and he's going to be very rigid about it with the Capricorn in the moon. But I mean, if you were to look at his full star chart, you'd find other things in there, but that's just a hint showing you that he could be a leader one day, right? Me, Sagittarius, Taurus, Libra. No, I'm not your leader. I'm not your leader at all. I'm wise. I can tell you things. I can help you be a better leader. And I can be a leader, but I'm like a management style leader. Like I'm a middle management. Nobody likes middle management. And funny enough, in my work, I was always put up into management, always, always. And I'm just good at being a leader because of the way I do it without ego and the way I do it in love and light. But I'm not the actual creator, like the CEO, person. You're going to want, you know what I mean? So like we can arrange. And then even, oh my God, if you watched, I'm not like into pop stuff, but Jennifer Lopez actually seems like she's awakening. And she proved it by just coming out with this. She did this music video, which I guess a couple of the other starlets did, and they're flops because they're probably not real. I've never watched them. I don't like famous people usually, but J-Lo is different. Like she's like she's awakening, like she's awakened possibly. And anyways, her whole thing's amazing. And she showed that her spirit guides is the council of Zodiac, which is what I have been saying forever about like how everything should be run. And she's seeing her spirit guides run by the council of Zodiac. And guess who the leader was? Leo. Like it was the top person, although they were an equal council. But the top person showed as Leo. If you haven't seen it, it's on Prime Video. I think it's just included if you have a Prime account. And I would definitely say watch it because it's pop, it's songs. I'm not even into that kind of music. It's just the whole video, even the love songs behind it are like whatever. It's the actual story she's telling with the video that's like awakening. So I hope it secretly awakes more people. It seems like she's kind of like surface level awake, like into astrology and probably base level manifestation. The girl's a boss, so clearly she knows what she's doing. We all need to start knowing what we're doing. This is serious. today. I would like something's going to happen. I don't know where, multiple places possibly. You could even see it on the road, in the school. It's something's happening. So yeah, Jesus, more money advice. Hooray. I'm an honest reverend here. I'm never going to pretend something is better advice than it is just because Jesus said it, because Jesus was just a human, just like the rest of us, but just God, just like the rest of us, because we're all God and we're all humans. All of us, we can all tap into that divinity at any moment. At any moment, you have to do the work to pull yourself in, but you can find that divine answer. And that's what you always have to do, even in a day like today, where it quite obviously is a very something's wrong. Something's wrong. I couldn't like this one. I was like, something's wrong. I almost didn't take the kids to school because something's wrong. Something's wrong with today. But you still have to find your divinity. You still have to make the right choices. I can tell that it would be very easy to go dark today, but on the days that it's easy to go dark is the days you definitely don't want to go dark because it's more serious. The consequences will be extremely dire. So be good today, people. Be good. Next, we have Jesus said a person was receiving guests when he had prepared the dinner. He set his slave to invite the guests, and no one wanted to come that he invited. And then he went out on the street and just invited some people. It's a big story about how merchants and buyers can't be trusted, and the normal people that can be trusted. That's what you want to look into. That's a famous story from the actual Bible. And again, just constantly reiterating that merchants can't be trusted. The government can't. So you can't trust money. You can't trust the government. You can't trust the people in power. He's always constantly saying these different things that sit better in that age, where now we're in a different age, but the same thing continues, where you cannot trust the merchants. You cannot trust the people in power. And this is why, what I was saying earlier, when you put a person in power, you really need to know their astrological star chart, because if we were living in that way, we wouldn't put people in power unless we knew that they could do the job. Now, just because someone has a star chart that's going to be good, their own raising, their own nurture could have ruined it, but at least we're setting ourselves up for something better, because we need a new system where we're not just listening to politicians or, CEOs of companies and believing the crap they tell us. Just because they're good at stringing together words does not mean they're a good person. And I think we kind of know this now, but at the same time, we need to invent a system that's going to move differently in the future, a system that's not going to be the same old over and over and over again, because we can't trust any of these people. In fact, you're more likely to trust somebody that's not good at public speaking, that's just up there going, I don't know, I guess maybe I'll do a good job. They probably will actually do a better job than the guy, you can trust me, I am the best, I'm so smart. No, you can't trust them. You can trust the ones that are probably more squirrely than they were before. Like, they are the ones that are going to be the better people for sure. But really, these are the kind of things we're going to need to start diving deeper into. So people need to get on board with deeper metaphysical methods that will actually show us if someone's a good person or not. So we don't even need to take their word for it anymore. We will actually know that they at least have the potential to be a good person. Okay, next. We have He said, a person owns a vineyard and rented it to some farmers so they could work it, and could collect the crops from them. He sent his slaves to the farm. Yeah, he gets his own son killed. This is another story that's repeated in the actual Bible as well. And it's a very powerful story. He gets his own son killed because he's going and sending them to get the money from these people he let rent his land. And the lesson here is either don't rent out your land, so you need to actually take care of what you own, or if bandits take your land and don't want to give it back, don't send your son to do it for you because you got him killed. After a couple, your slaves were already killed. So you knew it was an option. You, in your own ego, thought that wasn't going to happen because you thought you were so big and cool. And it's, again, That's one of those stories a million people take a million different things out of. Don't send your son into a dangerous situation is what I take from that story. If you know something's dangerous, don't send your own child into it. Nobody says that lesson out of it. They always talk about like ego or hubris. Don't send your son into things that are going to be dangerous. If you know something's dangerous, do it yourself or don't do it at all, and don't rent out your land to bandits. Like that, some of these are funny. Like the Bible is one of those things, and this isn't like this story's in the Bible, but like where some of the things are like that is so profound, and the next thing's like okay, because it's culturally relevant and it's no longer relevant. Jesus said, "Show me the stone that the builders rejected. That is the keystone." Now that's beautiful. And that's all of us. That is, we are the rejected ones. We are the ones that society is like, you're crazy. Get out of here. You know, the average person, like your average Dungeon and Dragon player is probably more qualified and less evil than the people that look normal, the people that look good. It's funny, in my high school, the jocks were nice, they were smart and they were nice, but cliche wise, it always shows the popular kids as being bad people. And we had a separate sect of popular kids that were like the get around their girls, you know, and they were not nice. So we did have both. We had popular kids, but then nobody even liked those girls. So it was obvious they were not likable. So your keystones, your ones that the stones the builders rejected, were the kids that didn't. And then it's like we almost self-rejected. I self-reject. I'm Sagittarius. You show me a little bit of not wanting me around and I am gone forever. That's just the way the Sagittarius is. They don't do rejection, so they'll poo off before the rejection even starts, because it's obvious. And I've always been able to read energy. If it's not vibing, it's not vibing. I'm not going to bother. But you even find it within your own family where you're rejected. And that's where I obviously, you know, stick around ish with my family. But even they are like, oh, you're crazy. But they're finally starting to come on board because of everything that's happening now. It's so obvious. It is so obvious that something is up. Now people are kind of starting to ask me questions and ask for my opinion and actually care what I have to say about matters, because it's like, yeah, I've been saying this stuff for a very long time. And finally, it's like the proof is showing. And it's not like I want the proof to show, but and the more people that listen, the more those bad things that might happen don't have to happen. So I can see, like, you see it online, people getting really frustrated that, like, the sheeple won't wake up. And I used to be one of them. But, like, what can I do about it? And this is something I can do about it right here, right now, and becoming a metaphysical minister, Reverend Diana, not because I want any kind of grandeur, but because like somebody has to do something, and this is what I can do. And I call upon like the people that did the truckers and the tractors now in Europe. We need more stuff like that. We, the ones that are already awakened, I feel like there's enough of us that we need to start thinking of things to do. Like I have my ideas of the council and how the world should be run. Okay, but how do we implement that? And that involves taking out what's currently there. But if we have enough volume, this all can happen without any kind of scariness. If enough of us, and this is why we need the sheeple to wake up, but technically they are not all going to wake up. Some of them are going to go right into the new world scot-free. And then there's some people that I see that are very bitter about this. They don't want them to get to come if they didn't do any of the work, but that's just not how things work. And the way consciousness works is some people have a bigger helping than others. Some people are more capable of waking up more than others. And we need to take that upon ourselves and just go, what can I do? Where can I fit in? How can I help? And thankfully, we have the internet, so we don't have to hit the streets with the signs going, wake up, people, like we used to have to do and look crazy. We can at least go online and be physically safe to tell the word, but there's more than just telling the word. There's more now. Like we're at that point where we need to think beyond telling people, because the government's not going to do this for us. They're a done deal. They're done. We've tried enough. They know enough. It is more than proven that they are not there to help us. They are there to they keep us in prison, but we have never been in prison. Like we were in a prison cell, but the door was never locked. We at any point could walk away from that prison cell. And that is what I have basically done, I'm out of the cell, but it's like I'm still in the overall prison because we're all in it. Like all of Earth is this prison. And now it's just a matter of dissolving those walls because they're not even real. But those walls are those people standing around us with the guns in the prison, guarding us, going, nope, you're in prison. But it's like, no, we're not. And you're not actually a guard. Like you don't have any authority to be keeping me in this prison. But how they keep us in this prison is instead of guns, they're shooting down matrix webs of thought patterns into us. So they're actually using it to tell us. They use pretty much everyone in Hollywood. There's the odd person that doesn't seem like they're in it, but then apparently they're the biggest psyops because they are also in it. And it's just this world that like the only thing we know for sure is that we can't trust any of them. And then the only thing we know for sure is, can I trust myself? Yes. Yes, I know. Yes, I know I can trust myself to do the right thing. I've repeatedly done the right thing to my own detriment over and over and over again my entire life. Does it mean I'm a perfect person? Not at all. Not at all. Because there's still constant darkness to have to overcome, to have to get through, to have to, work through. But how you know if you're a good person or not, good, is that you are the one willing to walk through that darkness. You are the one willing to feel that pain. You are the one willing to say no to yourself, because we all have like the demon angel. We all have to go through that, where the majority of people in power are people that say yes to everything their demons say. They are their demons. Basically, they have completely embodied that as their controlling factor, as their controlling, we have multiple beings that kind of are within us, because our soul is much bigger than us, the soul, us, the soul. Every color is like a different being. When it's in us, it's much smaller and tightly knit, but that thing gets huge, wide, and powerful, right? Which stream of your matrix are you going to hold on to and listen? You want to find the higher self, the higher soul monadic self. And then within this construct of you could allow a demon in there, and the demon could run the show. So it doesn't even have to be attached to your monadic soul. But the being that is your human self is going to enjoy the power that this demon brings you. And it's going to, bring you wealth, bring you whatever. And these people that have been in these secret societies forever, these people that were born into it, like the Bushes and all that, even Obama matches the bloodline. The only one that didn't match the bloodline is Trump. Now, I'm not one of those people that thinks he's the savior either. The man is clearly extremely egotistical. His father is proven to be like almost a maniacal person. So he was raised by an evil person. Do you think that means he's a good person? No, probably not. But he's not in the bloodline. So right there, that is something amazing, which would probably mean that RFK is in the bloodline, because that would mean JFK was in the bloodline. So suspicion there, because I like RFK. Who knows? I'm not American. The whole system has to go, but how do we get it out of there right now with our elections coming up? I don't know. Something like we just need to keep building volume. We have to, because in the past, every time this happened, like the first time Jesus was around, we talked about this yesterday, there was an awakening then. This could have happened back then. We could have already been in a utopia, but they killed us all. Just like how they've been killing us, this has probably been trying to happen for that whole time. It might never have stopped, but they killed about 9 million people they called heretics or witches. I would have been one of them over and over and over again, constantly getting killed, which is why we have that deep darkness when we want to talk about this stuff. But guess what? In America and in Canada, they cannot kill us for this anymore. They cannot. In Canada, they tried that Bill C-11 to silence people, and then maybe it's working. I don't know. Like I definitely used to get more YouTube than I do now, like people. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's one of those things we have to do something about. So if you have anything to do, we need engineers. Like we need computer design people, because there's a lot going on the internet. But then we also need to start building things in real life. And I personally want to start like if I, win the lottery money or just earn enough money, I've even been looking into it to buy churches, not to have a church, but to have a spiritual center, more like an ashram in India, or like just a meditation center, so that we can come together and actually start generating energy. Because if we're together, we can really generate massive energy. So on days like today, where it's just like something's up, something's not good, we could go to a said spiritual center, come together with chanting and hymns and incense and sound healing, and actually raise our vibrations up to a really high point, so that we are of more use to society when we hit back out onto the streets. We need these things, and they can't kill us anymore. They can try other ways to stop us. Oh, they could secretly kill us, and they've been doing that. The girl that made those cabal movies, Janet something, was just killed a couple months ago now. Suicide. Yeah, my ass. Yeah. She knew some serious stuff and found some important information, and they killed her for it. But she's in Europe, so I'm just still hoping that, like, I know for a fact they killed a bunch of Americans that made energy technology, but I've heard people are still making it today. The bigger guy that he's been on before and knows the information about Atlantis, he was on Joe Rogan and told about new energy healing stuff. And Joe Rogan, for the first time ever, did not release the episode. He says he needs more science to back it up. But this person, I forget, he's friends with Graham Hancock, or I want to say Randy something. But he knows the stuff. He's never been wrong before, so why would he assume he's wrong now? But finally, Joe's not releasing something. So we do still have blocks in our way of this stuff coming out. But it's not just technologies. Honestly, something needs to be done about the government. Non-compliance is something that we can do right now. But the way we're going right now with the government is going to take a very long time. It's going to take decade after decade. People are still hoping that good people will get in. Like in America, you guys had that Vivek guy. He was only saying what you wanted to hear. He was just trying to copy Trump because that's all Trump does. But that's still better than nothing. It's still better than the people that aren't trying. So it's still like baby steps forward. That Vivek guy used to own or run a pharmaceutical company, like right there, bad guy. Anybody connected to pharmaceuticals is thumbs down unless they're buying them to close them. Because that's one of the roots of all evil, which just came out very recently, and hilariously obvious that the vaccine, oops, I said the word, was created by the military, American military. Shocker. I didn't actually know that, but it's one of those things that's like you hear and you're like, yeah, that's obvious. That's like a duh. Should have figured that one. So then it just makes sense of all the pharmaceutical companies and why they all come out with these evil drugs, is that it's probably coming from the military to begin with. And why are they doing that? What's the military's job? It's not to keep you safe. It's to keep you subdued. That's their entire job. You mass population that they let become enormous. They want you subdued because they're using you as reality generators. They want America to have a huge population because America is now the reality generator. There's always that guiding force, although Rome is still a boss. Why do you think Italians are always such a huge deal in America? Because Rome is still ultimately the secret behind the scenes boss. So dark, it's ridiculous, and we got to do something. Like we got to think of something to do for real, like to push this forward. Or we're in for a very long time of this. So back to our words of Jesus, and we are the keystones, and know that we are the ones that will fix this. But I'd rather have it fixed before I'm 40, let alone waiting till I'm like on my deathbed in my 150th year, going, yay, it's finally cured. Jesus said, those who know all but are lacking in themselves are utterly lacking. So right there, that one's a very good one to know. And one that I used to be guilty of. So you know a lot, you have a lot of information, but you are lacking within yourself. So for me, that looked like chronic people pleasing and always being nice, because I've always wanted to be like a good person. It's just in my genetic makeup, like astrologically, that I have to do the right thing, but it wasn't from a grounded place of self. It was not at all. So I weirdly now actually say no more than I used to a lot. I'm actually seem like a lot more firm of a person. And I am like, literally, it's funny because you'd think that would make a person become more, but it's actually helping power up my whole energy body. I have more energy throughout the day. I am happier throughout the day. I'm not taking anything from anyone. I'm just not letting other people feed off me in a parasitic way, because I was very much letting people be dependent on me in a very parasitic, not helping their life way. So you have to be like in yourself, in your power, which I always call divine alignment, Christ consciousness, coherence, which is naturally going to activate your chakras. Chakras are a big ticket item that we always, when you first get into spirituality, you can get stuck in Wiccan, you can get stuck in chakras and crystals and all these tools that are important tools, but they're part of the bigger whole. And that bigger whole is your own coherence. Like, I love this thing. Like this, you can also think like this, soul over soul, but you can also think of this as you before you actually embody your power versus embodying your power, because you were literally, they've scientifically proven this, your heart has its own magnetic field and generates its own energy, like that we've proven with electromagnetic energy reader thingies. And with that, like, that's just a taste of what's actually quantumly happening, that you are actually generating more information, more like information downloads. So like, yeah, you can read tons of books and get tons of knowledge, but the lines all come together. Everything starts making more sense when you upgrade your actual energy body and your ability to hold information, your ability to relay information, your ability to embody information, because we are information. The entire quantum field is information. The quantum field is the Akashic records. Like, you've heard of the ether. The ether is the quantum field, is the Akashic records. They're all the same. So that's all information. Every atom that makes up our being, and the molecules and particles inside of it, down to the microscopic ones that come in and out of reality, that is all information. Like, we're an algorithm. This is like with a whole like that we're computer generated and we're just a hologram is half correct, but on a divine scale. Like, yes, we are a hologram that is printed down, like the prism, like the light comes down, the white light comes down, hits the prism, the rainbow, and prints us out. Like, we are a printed thing. But that printing is all information. We are all just codes of information, but from the divine, not from some computer. We're not in a computer like that Ryan Reynolds movie. Like, we are real. And the whole point of this existence from the divine's point of view is our self-actualization within, as an individual, that I know I am Diana, but I also know I'm God. So that separation there, that has a divine way to be separated. Like, that's how we are. We're layered. So there is the negative way to do something, and then there's the positive way, and then there's the balanced way, right? And the balanced way is knowing that I'm a physical separate being apart from God, because that's the whole point of the ego. The ego is actually divine creation of its own that God created on purpose. There's those theories that it's like God came down. This is one of the main theories of the past, that they used to, like, God came down to experience this, or they say an entity. They give it, like, they don't even always say it's God, it's something, but it's an arm of God regardless, because eventually it all comes all the way back up. There's never any separation completely. All we do is trick ourselves into separation. So they say this being came down and was experiencing the physical world and forgot it was God and got lost here. Yes and no. Yes to the fact that God did push itself down so far that it forgot, but it wanted to. Do you think God does anything it doesn't want to do? It wouldn't be the supreme all that is God if it made mistakes. It does not make mistakes. It is holy and perfect. It cannot make mistakes. I'm not saying this because, oh, I love God. Don't talk about God like that. He's my favorite. Like how people can get very dogmatically attached to things, like how all of Buddhism is about non-attachments, because you need to keep your mind flexible. But one thing, the divine absolute, the one thing that you can know absolutely is that the actual divine absolute, that is the all of all, doesn't make mistakes, because it is the all of all. It's not even possible. It couldn't make a mistake if it wanted to. And it's trying. I feel like that's what we're for. It's trying to make mistakes. It's wanting to learn. It's wanting to experiment. This is why, like, it does evil and it doesn't care, because evil is such a small branch of what it does. Like, it's like a huge tree and it's just a tiny little branch of it that is the evil, that is this physical realm, because evil is required for us to be physical. Okay. And it's also required for us to be separate. So God wanted to play the video game Imagine just, you can feel this. I'm a video gamer. You can feel this. Wouldn't you like to be playing like The Witcher and forget that you are you with the controller? They're trying to do this with VR. Wouldn't you like to be in the Witcher realm? I would. And forget and just be the Witcher. And even though that's not perfect, because the Witcher world, like, he's in a lot of violence and he had to go through tons of trials when he was like 5 and a bunch of his friends got killed. They didn't all make it. Like, he started human and they make him into that. That's exactly like our story. You know what I mean? So God wanted that separation. He wanted to play the game and forget. But then evil things that also are of God, like, the whole thing got really muddied. But according to God, he's probably still enjoying it, is still enjoying itself. We're talking the highest level here. So we don't ever need to look at the ego like a bad thing. It's a tool that was input into us on purpose. So let's utilize that. Okay. It is our separating factor. So if ever it rears its head, you just go, okay, separation, I see you. But we also have our perfect only soul part of us, where you can get really Luciferian and only care about the soul and only care about the fact that we're in, like, there's so many better realms. There's so many better things to be. Most of our existence is a good one. And they even had Buddhists that would get very suicidal and they would have to implement things, and they would even let, in certain sects, they would even let them commit suicide under a holy thing. They would be like, okay, and let them kill themselves. And they would make it like very ritualistic and special. This is only in some of the sects. The majority of them did not allow suicide, but it would be easy because you would see that it's so much better. You know what I mean? But if you're still into the belief of the wheel of samsara and that you would be trapped back into it, this is why they say suicide's illegal, because perhaps the divine does not allow it. And if you kill yourself, you're right back in, regardless of what you know. That's one of the things we could only know afterwards, because they were of the belief that they knew everything they needed to know so that they could escape the wheel of samsara, even if they killed themselves. That would be a hard thing to escape if you actually knew. If you actually knew, okay, I could actually leave. This is like those crazy people you hear about killing themselves and their whole family and the things they would get into their head. It's almost like you'd want to see that and be like, were they actually, did they see something? Like, did they know that you could leave and be better off? Because we could, but you wouldn't be physical. Like, you would no longer be physical. And there's a lot of things that we can do here that you can't do anywhere else. Like I was talking earlier about money and saying, well, actually, what are we going to do about that? Because Jesus talks a lot about money and how it's evil and how you should be humble and poor. It depends on what you're looking for. Like, no, never be evil, never, ever, ever be evil. But we need to find a way where, like, God didn't put us here. God put us here and creates that separation mainly because he wants us to build up the world. This is why we go in and out of what it's been proven. When we get way too spiritual overall as humanity, we stop progressing. We make our most progressions in the last 2,000 years when you're extremely separated from the divine, because in an atheistic state, you are actually way more beneficial to the actual physical world, just with creations, with houses, with things. The amount of things we have now compared to 2,000 years ago is hilarious. Amount of silly, stupid things that we could just order. I'm literally looking at tons of silly, stupid things that we can order off Amazon at any point and have it delivered to our door that day if you live in a city, or the next day if you live in the country. Like, it's limitless to what we can create in the physical world. But then that does become evil for our soul. But then that's the whole reason God made the physical world, is to experience this physical life. So we have to always live in that balance and find that balance and find what belongs. And right now we're in a world where we've woken up enough that we're ready to come back into being more of an obviously spiritual world, where we're like drumming on the streets like they used to, and some cultures still do. The West has never been like that. And if you were to, I love when I see hippies on the street playing music, and it's like, thank you. Cause like, this is the world that we want to go back into, or the olden day markets. Like, now we have farmers markets, which are kind of nice. There was, these Amish girls actually playing like cellos and violins and guitars the other day. And I went and gave them money because literally, like, they are doing something holy. When you play music on the street, I don't care what religion you're in. If you are in a religion that wants to connect with the divine, good. You're still pumping out good energy. And this is just the kind of things we need to bring into the world. If you're a musician, hit the streets. And this is where money can be evil, because if you're going to go do a corporate job so that you have lots of money, but your soul is calling you to be a sitar player, and be humble on the street. Well, maybe this is where I'm lucky as a woman, but they're trying to erase that. This is why they tell men, don't take care of your women. My husband didn't want to either. I had to kind of put my foot down and be like, you make more than enough money. Why do I have to work? That is insane that I should go. And when I made money, I made hilariously less than him, put it that way. Like, I used to take care of myself, obviously, when I lived in an apartment and I had credit card debt. And like I said yesterday, I had to go bankrupt. So it's not like I was thriving when I was making my own money. Meanwhile, he makes tons of money. So it's like, why don't you? So as a woman, I would have said you could have had, and we are the more spiritual ones. Technically, men are stronger in the physical world, but women are stronger in the spiritual world. So you took a bunch of women that could have gone and been useful in the spiritual world. They were probably feeling a call to do something. And what do? They get called into the office to go work 9 to 5 and kill their soul even more. So that's all where money is evil. That's all where money is bad, when you're doing it for what? For what? Now, if you have a soul calling and that earns you money and you don't do it in an evil way, like, money doesn't have to be evil. It's just one of those things that's a big old mess that we're really, really, really going to have to just look at it and then see that the spiritual, like the religions calling us to live in complete poverty are wrong just for the sake of poverty. That's wrong. But if you are poor because your soul calling doesn't earn money, that's when you're noble. If you were doing your soul calling, like, I don't make any money, but I'm lucky my husband does. So if you could find some kind of system, or this is communes, find a group. They're doing this now with single moms. They're trying to push single moms to just all live together, because this world is a world where it's not, even if you're a single mom, like, you are not able to afford a decent place to live with your children. Like, it's just not a thing. So we're going to have to come together. I think we need more communes, like readily available, so that you can just go and be safe. And like homeless people, they should make big giant shelters, not like the horrible homeless shelters in the middle of a city. I mean, like, let them have a big farm and they all just become a commune. Like, go have them be a commune. Why not? Like, what would that cost a millionaire to give them a farm and let them just take care of themselves? And you could argue that they wouldn't. We'll put a social worker there, like, or just let them do what they're going to do. Like, there's so many things we could be doing that we're not. Some things that would take a lot of money. And then if you don't have a lot of money, that's okay. But we need to think of a different way to live then. It's all restructuring. This is all going to be restructuring here. I'm an idea person. Like, I'm an initiator of ideas. Now we need people to take ideas and become engineers and become facilitators of ideas. And this is the kind of thing that men usually thrive at. And we each have our talents, and that is theirs. 68, Jesus said, congratulations to you when you are hated and prosecuted, and no place will be found wherever you have been prosecuted. Yeah, and that goes into a lot of what we were talking earlier about how we used to be killed. We used to be killed for what we think, and now we're just shunned, and you can still be killed. Some people are, especially if you're trying to invent new technology. But what are we going to do about it? We're in a state where we are at a point where we can be doing something about it, and none of us are. But what? We need to organize. We need people. That's why I like that. The one guy I was on the podcast with, Steven from BJ Cast, I think he's doing something really great where he's bringing us all together to discuss, but we need to just do it more than just being on each other's podcasts. We need to actually start forming organized groups, which used to be a crime to say, or like, what was it? What was it when you were a communist and they would organize? That was a crime. I wonder why. Why is it a crime to organize? Because they don't want you to make anything new. How are we allowing this still? Why do we keep allowing this? We keep allowing them to tell us what to do when there's more of us than them. That doesn't make any sense. They're pumping us with things to make us feel weak and useless. We're not weak and useless. We're very powerful. And all you need is volume, like the analogy I always use of ants. We can be the ants. There's more than enough of us. Jesus said, congratulations to those who have been prosecuted in their hearts. They are the one who have truly come to know the Father. Congratulations to those who go hungry, so the stomach of the one in want may be filled. So congratulations to those who have been prosecuted in their hearts. Now, I don't know if this is what he means, but this pulls something forward here for me. For those that have serious demonic chasings, which I did, And this is generational cursing. So not everyone has this, but I come from a lineage that had deep, 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 dark ancestral trauma, like the darkest and the deepest that you can imagine happened in my history, not mine, but in my mother's history. She had dark things. And my father had his own version of darkness, less insidious, but still dark. And my mom's family is straight up insidious, like straight. My grandmother was schizophrenic and actually talked to demons and was possessed by demons. And then her father was the darkest kind of person you could imagine. So I'll just leave that there because, I mean, she's dead, so I can't ask her, but I bet you she wouldn't want me telling you. But dark insidiousness, that is in my very DNA. And my own parents were all right. They were very, very strict, and their darkness definitely shined through, but they were probably, I could tell they were empaths themselves, although very old Gen X. They're beginning Gen X, late baby boomers. So they were products of their age. And they did something where they shifted and they shifted to atheism, and I always whine about that, but that was actually a change move right there. That was a boss change move they both did. So they could have clung, they both saw that that was fake. They unfortunately, my dad's still alive, so I'm hoping he will, but my mom never did. So she never found that divine comfort in herself. She became addicted to going to the gym though. So she did find a way to connect with the gym, which is better than nothing. But the changes were already being made. But I know what it's like to have a darkness in your heart that doesn't make sense in your astrology, and it doesn't make sense, and even the things you know, but it's just there. And it's ideas that come into your head that I've just always fought off, and I felt the darkness alleviate and go away. But those of us that are healing ancestral trauma would know what that feels like. They would know that there's something that you overcome. And luckily we're in an age where we're primed for overcoming it, because things were very dark of the past. I'm not the only one with a dark, like my parents had very dark pasts. Like that's normal because things were very dark. This is a hell realm. This is a world of hell that we are pulling in. Like the kingdom of heaven is already here. And there, if you notice the Bible and the way they talk about hell, you will be in hell. You will be in hell. Like right here, this is the hell. And transcending that place of glory and God, like fifth dimensional space we're heading to, you could always find in divine alignment. But now we're in a place where we're actually going to start being able to pull that in physically, so that we can physically see this kingdom of heaven that we have heard about and have talked about. We're actually going to start seeing it. I know for when I can feel it. I have seen, like, you're talking about glitches in the matrix. I've seen it. I've watched the road change. The road changed. I watched the road change. It was a more of a hill. And then I watched the hill come down. And I was like, oh my God, the hill. And I've seen other like glitches, like you would think like a computer glitches. I've seen it. I've seen it really, really recently, like in the last year or so. I've seen lots of major color glitches. I've seen black dots in sacred geometry shapes for a long time. And you can probably do it too, because I tested with my husband. If you look up, especially into the sky, I can see, and you see the heat waves, I can see them when I look up, just even now inside. I used to only be able to see them outside because I need a farther distance. So they're coming closer, which you think means the energy is ramping up. But now I can full on see blue and red and green, actual mixing of the matrix. Like I'm seeing it physically. I don't think that's because I'm any more special than any other empathic person. I'm not extra magic. I am magic, but I'm not extra. And we can all do this, but look up to the sky when it's blue. If you don't already know how to do this, and you start with the black shapes and the black dots, and then watch as they move in sacred geometrical patterns. And then you keep focusing on that. And I don't know if that's why now I can see the color grid, but now I can see the color grid. So I think it might be a muscle that I worked just from literally being out my trampoline one day, looking up going, okay, hello. And then just constantly realizing I can see it anytime I'm outside. And now I can see it inside. Usually I need enough distance and light, but like it's nuts. And it's showing that like we're physically getting in a world that's pulling down that fifth dimensional heaven space, so that It is really happening. It's really coming now, but we're really at a point where I'm just like obsessed with us utilizing this energy, because we could take this energy and use what would have cost us 1,000 years of progression and do it in 10 years. It's already been happening. Like 2020 was actually a good thing for our awakening and our speeding up of ascension, because like, let's go. I'm tired of living in hell. I don't want to do it anymore. Jesus said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you. And then again, just goes right back into what I'm always saying. But I love when they present this stuff that really tells the truth. And that's the internal truth, because that's the one thing that resonates the same, is the internal truth. And that, right, hello, what you bring in forth inside you is what we were just talking about, that golden light inside you that exists regardless of family, ancestral trauma. If you bring forth your inner light, that will naturally dissolve the trauma. This is why therapy is dangerous. This is why being a psychiatrist and all that, you're probably not helping people, because therapy will actually only ramp up and escalate the darkness that's within, because you should tell someone about it once. You should put it out there once. But then after that, it's like, okay, this is the situation. Here it is. Now we are going to work through it. We're going to transcend through it. We're going to just completely work its way up, because as you work through it, you're naturally working up. Like that spiral gets bigger as it goes up, because it's never ending. As you head up in dimensions, you get wider. And I love this. I'm going to keep using this. You get wider and more open, but you're the same. You've always had that within you. You just need to open it. And the energy is coming down right now. Think of it like a balloon pump. There's an energy coming down to pump us. But if you have blocks, like let's say part of this balloon didn't want to stretch because it's hardened by ancestral trauma. Well, I can pull and I can pull and I can pull, but it's not going to want to open. And now imagine that being excruciating pain and psychotic issues. Like literally, like I used to have moments where I would have the right idea and I would have the wrong idea, and there'd be such a cosmic force of fighting that I was that person. Like I would only do it in the comfort of my own home when I was actually trying to get rid of the darkness. And I would literally go within, and there would be like some kind of primal like roar as I fought it off. And then literally you feel it. You feel the demon. That never feels like they say it's going to feel, but you feel lighter after. And next thing you know, you're going out. And then I'm assuming this out, I can only go so far with this toy, but it would go farther and farther and farther, and the out would never stop. So you're going to, at this point, imagine it's gone this far, and now like this is the new version of wide. You're going to find new blocks. These are your energy blocks. These are your clinches, and they're from all different things. You can even cosmically be born with energy blocks. But then a lot of the time that can tie into trauma, because I've had astrological readings where it's like, it will specifically say you are like this, but a trauma would have created it to happen. So even in your astrology, it's already predestined you to have traumas to create the things that are in your astrology. That's bonkers. That doesn't seem fair, but it's true. So like there's things foretold in your astrology that actually are not in you when you're born. They happen later. So like there's just constant things that are going to be jamming it up, right? They're going to be jamming it, not letting it come out. And those things are going to hurt. They're going to hurt mentally. And sometimes they hurt physically. Sometimes they find it in our body. Like I've mentioned before, I have autoimmune diseases and stuff like autoimmune. They all are together. All those lupus and MS and Crohn's, colitis. If you simply have IBS, and it can go either way, it can be too much pooing and it can be too little pooing. All of that is all autoimmune. Psoriasis, which my mother had for years, is autoimmune. And then my dad has Crohn's, that's autoimmune. And then you come together, and I had MS symptoms. I never got diagnosed, but I was starting to glitch. Like my actual brain was glitching. My nerves were tingling and getting shot, and I was just incredibly inflamed. And like fibromyalgia is the only thing I maxed out on getting diagnosed with before I was like, I'm gonna do something about this. Fibromyalgia is just that's like kind of the baby version where it's just constant inflammation and pain in your whole body. And that eventually leads, and lupus and MS are like almost identical in their symptoms, and they're all the same. And guess what else is an autoimmune disease? Cancer itself. Cancer is like the final goodbye result of all that and not listening. Even if you, eczema, which I used to have as a child, it's autoimmune. Asthma is autoimmune. So almost everything is autoimmune. So almost all of you have autoimmune, and you just have to find it. And it's in your food. So obviously watch your food. It's really hard. Fasting is key because you want to give your body time to let it all out, because not only do we have to deal with mental problems, we have to deal with astrological problems. We have to deal with the stuff we put into our own body. And that's the one thing people could get jammed on. Like my sister's like an expert on it, because she, like when I got into the health world, I didn't stay there. I got into the health world. It's what actually took me out of atheism, though. I got into the health world, but that led into herbs, and herbs being magic led to the earth being alive, led to Wicca, led to metaphysics, led to the universe, led to me now. It was all a growing process where she got into health and she stayed there because, like, raised atheist, but she stayed there. But now she's like basically a nutritionist, and now she's the one telling me stuff. It's funny. I remember like literally trying to explain to her Cheerios and showing her like the big 20-letter word that starts with a T that's deadly in Cheerios, and having that argument with her a million years ago. And now she's the one lecturing me about certain things, Ollie, because she's so perfect and she's so on it with her children. Like I commend, like so respect that people that can really stick to that, because in this world, eating is no joke. And it's so hard, and especially trying to navigate through that with your children, especially when your husband does not eat healthy at all. It's really, 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 that is a very difficult thing that, just like the government, what are we going to do? I think we need to storm the gates of Kellogg's and, oh God, General Mills and all those major, major food companies I used to know back when I was a health person. I was all on those facts. And pharmaceutical companies, I was so good at listing you exactly what's wrong in every drug. But the brain moves on, and now my brain is filled with other information. But I still remember that basically everything is poisonous. Even if you're getting organic food, it's always not trustable, or it's traveling from really far away. And even if you grow your own food, the rain, I always look out there if I mention my garden because it's right there. But even the rain is toxic. So your own food is still going to have something in it, but it's better than nothing. And that's what I try for. Being a farmer is very hard. One of the main reasons we moved here was because I was obsessed with growing my own healthy food so that we could finally live healthy. But oh man, it's hard. And the food doesn't come into the end of the summer. And this is Canada, and I'm complaining, but I'm just not a gardener. It's just not something that comes naturally to me. And it's very hard. So it's something we're also going to need to think of new systems for, which luckily there is people that love gardening. So thank you, those people, probably earth signs. Thank you, earth signs, and your gardening. My mom was good at it. She grew stuff so easily, so naturally. My aloe plants that are still alive to this day came from, they're like her grandchildren. She had an aloe plant in Canada that got huge. She threw it out like a year before she died. So, I mean, I don't mean to smile smugly. I'm smiling because I know that's probably not helped with her dying, because she had this sacred plant that started to release a smell because it was flowering, because it was so big and old. Like aloe will eventually become a tree if allowed, but in Canada, we can't plant it because they're tropical. So you're lucky if you're an earth sign and you could grow stuff, because fire signs are not the best at it. And I would just guess air signs probably aren't either. That's just a guess though. We all have different makeups though. Just because you are a fire sign doesn't mean you're super fire, but I am. My astrological star chart makes me extremely Sagittarius. Like I am not only sun sign Sagittarius, a ton of my stuff is Sagittarius. A ton. I'm extremely, extremely to a detriment Sagittarius. And everybody has their own. You're lucky if you're one of those people that has a balanced chart, because it means you'll be naturally balanced. But I think it's part of the process of me being a good teacher and teaching you how to become into coherence and how to come into balance. Because when I'm teaching you how to come into coherence and balance, I come from it as a person that needs to work very hard to be coherent and balanced. Not so much anymore now. I'm lucky it's getting natural, but that's because it's like when you work a muscle and you get very strong. Of course, now you're going to be naturally strong, right? But you still need to work at it, or those muscles will go away. but you have built up a strength. So I have built up a strength, but I came from a place of being naturally very unbalanced. And that's just in my star chart. That's in my sign there. So like, you know, you go, oh, I used to be like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like I used to before when I was an atheist, and like think I was crazy and something was wrong with me. But no, that's just the way I'm genetically made up. I was genetically, astrologically made up, but that's okay. And there's a reason for that, because now you have to kind of walk through. This is why I'm a teacher. Like you have to, because I've had so many different things. People are like, you have like a wild life. I've done so many things that I've chosen to do. And then so many things that have just come about like naturally, that I've had to go through and handle and deal and solve. Like I've solved so many problems. I've had so many different jobs. I've had like 20 jobs. So I've literally, it's like done it everywhere, man. And like jack of all trade, master of none. Even in this world of metaphysics that I've now been in for probably a decade or more, technically more, but like really been in it for a decade. But I learned it all. And then I was like, I still found nothing I wanted to settle in, but I think that's a good thing. I think, and I was saying this yesterday in our pod, or was it yesterday? That we need to bring it together in a new religion, but like a very loosey-goosey one with base, just so people have a criteria of what do I do? Like I'm here, what do I do? And so they don't have to start at the beginning like we did and go through everything to find what works. I could be like the 5 Tibetan rites, okay? The 5 Tibetan rites, do those. I'm not joking. The 5 Tibetan rites, bam. And next you can like, so that's your physical thing done. And you can do other things. I do yoga, I do tons of things, but the one thing you want to do is the 5 Tibetan rites. Just Google them, and they're all over YouTube. They have a whole book. You don't need to read it because YouTube people will show you. I just have an image that I use that I would have prepared if I was going to tell you about it. But if you tune in next time, I'll bring it up then. But that's a go-to. And then meditating, you always want to meditate. Sound healing, you want to just jump right into sound healing. Meditate with your sound healing playing. And then obviously meditating, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to do anything specific, but I would recommend finding a trusted guided meditation to start, because meditating, your own brain is not going to want to shut up. So if you get used to listening to somebody else, then you get addicted to blanking them. Now I love blanking my brain, and I can do it really easily wherever I am. It's how I turn the God spark on. I'm kind of doing it now, just talking about it, even though I'm still talking. I'm managing to silence my brain and turn on the God spark, because it's like a muscle that we can easily utilize. So this is why I want to make spiritual centers and work on like creating these lessons to bring you and teach you, because once you mastered spirituality, then you want to master teaching spirituality. And this is why you can't be a proper knower of spiritual until you teach spiritual. Like the rungs, it's like initiate, adept, teacher, and then it keeps going. There's one more, and then there's master. And it's like, but just being a teacher is what's going to bring, like the actual masters are only teach their disciple, or maybe it's disciple master. And then but we don't want to live in an age anymore where there is one boss master, because even those people like gurus, funny enough, there's that one famous guru out there that you probably would recognize if you saw, but I can't remember his name. J-Lo, I talked about at the beginning of the video, did her Awakening big giant music video on Prime that I recommend you watch. She has him in it, which I was so tickled pink. I was like, oh my God. But I love this thing. So, and I thought that meant he was cool. I watched after, and she put it in her documentary. I didn't watch the whole documentary, but I watched enough to see that he charges $200,000 a day. 200,000. He had the chance, and he could have done a better job. He is in it, but she wanted to use him for more scenes, but she was paying for it for herself, because nobody would pay for it, because they said it's because those kind of music videos don't sell. Meanwhile, they did it for Beyonce and they did it for Rihanna, but they wouldn't do it for her. As that, you can't say because J-Lo's not a big enough star. She's a big enough star. It's because of what she was trying to release, guaranteed. And she didn't even say that, but I can figure it. So she paid for it all by herself. So she was paying this 200,000, and you could say, oh, but she's rich. She's not that rich because she's a woman, and they don't make as much money as men. That's a fact. And so she has tens of millions of dollars, even maybe hundreds of millions. But when you're making that kind of thing, it costs tens of millions of dollars, and you're just paying that out of your pocket. Plus, those people don't necessarily have the cash. It's like, you got to be liquid, whatever. It doesn't matter how rich she is. $200,000 a day when you're a guru, shouldn't you be free? Shouldn't you be going around trying to awaken as many people as possible? And I'm all for spiritual people charging for their services to make money to survive and even be a little, have a little bit of money. I don't know. Like, I'm still doing this for free. And when I was doing life coaching, I didn't like it because I don't like the exchange of money. It just creates a power dynamic that, like, I'm one to resent people because then I would feel like I owed them and then I would resent them. And then they didn't want to do what I said. And it was like, they liked listening to advice, but they wanted to treat it like therapy and keep complaining about the same stuff. And it's like, but we talked about this. And they're like, no, but really, what do I do about my mom? She keeps blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I told you multiple times. You just don't want to do it. So it's like, that's not the space for me. That's not the space for me. I'm not the kind of person that can listen to you. I will love to heal people. If you have problems, you want to come to me, just DM me now, because I can tell you the answer, but I can't tell you the answer a million times if you don't want to listen. Right? So now I'm just going to teach, and you listen if you want, don't if you don't want. If you have questions, actually I haven't even checked. No one usually does. No. You can start using the chat feature if you want, and I would gladly answer, or you can comment on the video after. But if you want to ask something privately, go ahead. I'm usually on Twitter nowadays because it's really helping with just me formulating my own thoughts. So all the information has always been in there, but the way my brain works, it's like the opposite. My brain's doing this and I need it to do this. And it's helping. It actually is working. That was my husband's idea, to focus my thoughts. So that's doing really good. And then I think people are liking, because I have really new ideas that are coming from the divine that are rooted in all the information I've been learning over all this time. And I've been learning about magic even when I was an atheist. So luckily I've been researching magic since I was a child. I just was loving it on a wouldn't that be cool, like Dungeon and Dragons pretend kind of thing. So luckily when I got into this, I was always like, okay, well, I already know half of this. It just turns out it was real. So that was just perfect right there. So talk about being lined up to already being this. So that was amazing to already have that rooted in there. So the information is there. It's just, how do I use it to make the world better? Like, they talk about having the savior complex. It's an actual archetype. I super have it. Like, even like, and then in human design, which I'm really getting into now, because it takes a bunch of these things and puts them together. If you don't have human design, do it. I'm going to read you the app I have. I'm not paid to promote this app, but things are usually a ton of money. And this is not. It was 40 something for the year. And that's in Canada. It's calling itself just human design from the outside. So just search human design in the app store. I think I searched on Google and it brought it up as an app. So it's just called human design. And the symbol's actually like an upside down cross, which that's just the way the human design chart works. But that even makes sense because it's of the physical realm. I hope it means it's not evil. Ooh, that does concern me. But it's Kabbalah, it's the I Ching, it's the Vedas, and it's actual astrology all put together in one. And there's nothing better to know thyself. I use it over just basic astrology, because basic astrology kind of would tell you a bunch of horrible stuff about yourself and then just be like, well, that's it. Human design takes it, and then actually this app especially unpacks it to how that's going to help you with your life. And I was reading about human design before and different aspects, but like that one put it perfectly. And obviously I'm a projector. I don't exist unless you know I exist. I have an awakened heart center, which is very, very, very rare. Or sorry, a defined heart center, which is very rare, which is why I am born to be good. I'm like, almost like, it's been a detriment because I have to always be good, and it's how I would let people walk all over me, because if I don't be good, but now I've learned to be good, and from an awakened space, like from an awakened, I'm still going to do what's right for me because I need to be good to me. When you start to, especially when you start to see your human vessel as almost like a separate self, and this little human girl needs help. She needs me to take care of her. She needs me to do things for her. That goes for anybody, even if you're not like little, whatever you are, you need to take care of you as if you're separate, because you're human. Your divine soul self is above the human self. It is smarter. It is like we are supposed to be the Holy Trinity, mind, body, spirit. The mind is a separate entity too. The mind goes with you when you die, and you attach back to a different thing that's out there that we're not attached to now, possibly that fourth dimensional thinking realm. Like the way it's going to look after, we can only kind of hearsay on and feel into when we meditate. But the body definitely doesn't get to come. The body is definitely very separate. But she's attached to us right now. And it's funny I say she, because even a male body would be kind of female because she came from the earth. And that energy would be female in my mind. I might be wrong on that, but I see it as a girl. And she needs to be taken care of. She needs our help. So do what you have to do to take care of that. And that doesn't mean being mean to people, but a firm no is your power. This is one thing I've learned that is turned the notch up so much more, and that there is power in no, and it's not even evil power. There is power in no, and like you have to live it to experience it. And it's got to be a no that you want to say. Don't say no if you don't want to say no, but there's power in not doing stuff for other people, because they are all humans. Like I used to think, because I've always been that person that sees more. So I always took it upon myself for it to be my responsibility to help so many different people, because they don't see and I do see. But that's the way where you get drained and then you're useless to other people. This is why I'm coming on and doing more lives, because I have the energy to do more lives, because I have the energy to be here and tell more things. I'm a person, it's in my chart, that gets very drained. And this is why it sounds like I'm always talking about me, but it's because that's how you see it within you. This is why Jesus talking, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, although I am. Jesus talking about all these different things and the oxen and all that stuff, that's him using their language to convey, because we are all a story. We were all an archetype. We all need to be unpacked, right? So when you hear my information, find how that fits within you, because I don't like, I could, use my clients and stuff as examples, but I didn't even like using my own mother as an example. And when I talk about clients, I'm talking about the general consensus of whole, not specific ones. Okay. Because that would be terrible. And that would be the last thing anybody would ever want, is their own personal story released. So I'm often releasing just my own personal stories. And then, like I said, I was blessed with a million, because we have so much work to do. And I'm going to end this here. And I know this wasn't very positive today, but that's because it's just something's up today. So be careful. Remember how we started the episode. Be very careful. The energies today are very, very serious. They can be used for good. You can be in a place of positivity, but know that the pull to the negative is powerful today. And mistakes are going to happen. Accidents are going to happen. I think we're having a shift period. Like things are shifting up a notch, but when they shift up a notch, you have to be extra good. Hold the light, because we're pulling it out and it is hard. So you don't be part of that heaviness, because it could do this or it could do this. So let it do this. Like, let's be the airy, breezy, light person that's going to let the world expand and not hold it back. So if you have an ego trigger today, admit you're wrong quickly, because that's when we help the earth. When we hold to our dogmas and go, no, I'm right, you are now being part of the thing that is jamming it. When you can go, I'm wrong, God's not going to be like, oh, you're wrong, I'm going to put you in hell. God already knew you were wrong. Your divine soul already knew you were wrong. That's why you're feeling that. So just do us all a favor, admit you're wrong and let it go. Let's open up. And I personally dive into all the places I'm wrong. I look for triggers. If I'm having a problem with something, I'm like, what did I do? What did you do? And I'll try to think and find, what did I do? Because we are all the earth. And one of the archetypes is God. And I have that one, where this is how I can so deeply and profoundly know that I am God, because I have the God archetype of I am God. This doesn't mean I'm any more God. It just means I'm allowed to see the I am God easier. And we can all dive into archetypes, though. Archetypes are there not to be permanent, but for us to step into stuff. And as someone that used to be a former serious fiction reader, now I have so many nonfictions to read, but I was a deep diver into fiction. Like I would become extremely fanned out about stuff and learn every intricate detail. But what that allowed me to do was to download the depth of archetypes and read into all these different existences that you can be. And we all live within many. but you want to unpack them because every single archetype has a shadow side. So if you have a part of you that's darkness, find what archetype that seems to link with, and you will easier be able to come to the light side of it. So like if you're a bully, there's the archetype of the bully. Now, its shadow side is not where you're going to want to live, but it's going to help you heal the bully. And guess what the shadow side of the bully is? The shadow side of the bully is the coward. Okay. So when you see that you're a bully, you can know I'm a coward. I am a coward. Ouch, right? I'm a coward. Oh, God. I don't have the bully archetype. I have the loser, which is closely related because the bullies find the loser. But the loser's also a coward. So I have the coward, but I'm the loser. The bully also has the coward, though. So what's that connecting? The bully and the loser are connecting inside the coward. This is why these two always find themselves, because they are both the coward. And that is what it is. Now, do we need to keep that archetype? Maybe, but at least you know it, and that helps you transcend past it. And you have other archetypes that you're going to have with you. And no archetype needs to be permanent, but I haven't felt one permanently leave, but I feel them, instead of being as a dominant factor, they're now a distant background voice of, why should I? No one's going to like me. Oh, no. Oh, well, it just makes me stronger. That fear of getting made fun of, because I was clearly made fun of my whole life. I've always said crazy, magical things. I just didn't have any proof. Now I have proof, so it's hilarious. But that person still exists deep in the distance, but you have to attach with the more permanent ones, like God. I attach my God archetype, or my priestess archetype, or my mystic archetype, or the Hierophant, which is the teacher archetype. This is where tarot is good. I was saying the other day how I don't use tarot, but that was, and then I didn't want to go back and be like, actually, I don't use it for divination. I don't use anything for divination, but I use the I Ching for change, what it is, like for helping with decisions, and only sometimes, because we should learn to cultivate that within ourselves. But if I'm really stuck, I'll use the I Ching. And then sometimes I'll just use it when I'm feeling it'll be of power to increase our steps forward. So that book of changes, it's meant for that. Where tarot could be used the same way, but I found it, because I find the archetypes very murky, because we're not in an ascended place of wonderfulness yet. So when we're doing divinations with tarot, I find it all, and that just might be my own, but I find it all steeped in darkness, that I don't want to divinate with something I see steeped in darkness, where I see the Tao steeped in cosmic pure energy. And if you don't know this, Carl Jung checkmarked the I Ching. So that, for me, all we can do is pick a master to follow, and Carl Jung is the closest one we have. Obviously Jesus, but Carl Jung is actually closer to us. He knew he would be famous after he died. If you haven't read the Red Book, read the Red Book. I think it should be the new Bible. The Red Book reads actually similar to the Bible, except it's relevant to us. It's talking about things, even though he was almost 100. He died in the 60s, so not that long ago. Some of you might even been alive when he was alive, or he died in his 60s. I think he died in his 63. I want to say 63, which is right before my mom was born. Or he died when he was 63. Doesn't matter. He's very recently for us, because he was born in the late 1800s. So, and he was in his 40s in like 1913, I guess. I don't know. Trying to plant his age there. It doesn't matter. He lived very, 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 very close to us. I can't think of anybody that lived closer except Joseph Campbell. Except Joseph Campbell was just kind of picking up where Carl Jung left off. And then we now have Jordan Peterson, which I feel like he could have been one of them, but he has been thrown right, which Carl Jung didn't have that happen. Jordan Peterson has been thrown right in the middle of this whole political thing. And I think he's definitely a hero, but you could tell he's really struggling now with what's going on. And I think because he's meant, God wants him to admit he's like a mystic. He hints at stuff, but I don't think he's fully accepted it inside his heart that he's a mystic and he's one of us. Because when he does that, he's one of those people that can lift the roof off, because we need more serious people. Because even people like J-Lo, She's not taken very seriously, and she's a woman, and we are not taken seriously, and we're not meant to be taken seriously. If I've talked about before, the flower of life symbol, which you can kind of see today because it's cloudy, and then the platonic solid symbol. I need to get things to show you. The platonic solid symbol is the masculine coming on the feminine. The feminine is everything that is, okay, except the actual God's an it. But then first came the woman, but then came the man. And the man is meant to direct the woman, not because he's the boss, but because the woman is everything. So we can get lost in the everything. I don't know what to do sometimes. I know everything. I don't know. I know the answers. I could tell you 20 though. But to somebody to be like, nope, this is what we're doing now. That's going to be a masculine energy. And the alchemist is a girl. She's doing it, she's embodying that. So it's not like you can't be a female, but we need men. Like, let's be honest. That's why they're filling the food with estrogen, because they don't want the men to be men anymore. But there's a polarity to that and a counter that the men were beating us constantly, putting us down and calling us stupid. And my own husband, who's the same age as me, still is like a little bit like, you can tell, like he's like the Gen Z seem to whine and like say women are taking advantage of them now and stuff, which is sad because it looks like they flipped it. Now women are being nasty to men on purpose. But it's like, but when men were given the chance, they treated women really, really, really badly. Just because you can be smarter than us, because you can, in the physical body, doesn't mean you should take advantage of that. You should use that power and help rise the women up, because we are the ones pumping in the energy from the ether. We're the ones capable of it. We are the ones that are antennas of the mystical. Use us. This is why like Mary and Jesus, Mary Magdalene was probably pulling in that energy for Jesus. It depends, because Mary's like the Sophia, where there's tons of stories on who and what she was. And if there even was two Marys, like maybe there only ever was one Mary. So there's lots of mysteries there. But the fact is, there was a very clear and powerful Mary involved in the story. There was a very clear and powerful female force, even if it was two, because you see that. And that's why polygamy became a thing. And sometimes I want polygamy, but you need a bunch of girls to do what one man can do. So men, wake up. Because men aren't naturally into spirituality, but we need that Jordan Peterson masculine force, but to be awakened to the divine, the actual divine. Wake up. There's so many layers. This continues forever into infinity. And then as you expand out, you would imagine another one blooming on the inside and the inside and the inside and it never stops. And that's all female. The masculine is going to direct it and choose where it goes. The masculine is going to harness it and decide, like the fire is masculine. It's going to put it where it goes. And that's why I often say I'm androgynous and very masculine, because I have a lot of fire energy. But at the end of the day, I am a woman. As my son yells, mommy. That's funny. Okay, I was going to go anyway, so that's okay. That 2222. Okay, so we'll end it here. Be careful today. Do your best today. When I say the consequences for being negative are very serious today, it'll be different for everybody's life, but it is very serious today. And then going forward with that conjunction coming up, I think on April 18th, we're in for some very serious times, and very serious things need to be done right now if we don't want bad things to happen. I know for a fact we can avoid every bad thing that's coming in the West. Unfortunately, the other countries have a lot more baggage to clear up because they're a lot older than us, but specifically Canada and America can really avoid a lot of the darkness and bloodshed that's coming because we're so brand new. We're like children. So do children have to go to war and have bloodshed? No. So we, Canada and America, can escape the bloodshed completely if we stay positive. Okay. So thank you for watching Transcending Ascension. Goodbye for now.